Obviously, they're discussing this extension in Kansas today, but what, without saying it's a deadline, what sort of timeline do you feel like you're working on now?
You and your timeline questions. So I think, hopefully everything goes well in Topeka today. We expect it will. And that's a big part of the process. We have continued our discussions in Topeka with the leaders. We've made good strides. At the same time, we've been in active discussions with our folks on the Missouri side. I spoke with the governor this morning, and we continue to make strides there. So we're excited about the opportunity. This is a step in the process. To get it extended was just, we hadn't made enough progress where it made sense, and we're excited to get that done.
It seems, we need you to say this, I guess, but it's either renovate here or build a brand new stadium in Kansas, right? So what are the deciding factors for you guys on making that choice? Because they're two very different projects.
Yeah, I think just to be consistent, we've said all along that we're going to do the proper due diligence to figure out what is the best decision for our fans, for this franchise, for our organization, for the future. And I think that the decision between new and renovate is part of the detail of the deals. And as I said, we're making great progress on both sides. They're different deals. And once we have all the details, which is the phase we're in right now, it's literally details, final definitions, exactly that we're all on the same page, and then we'll take that information and we'll make the decision.
So most people think like a new stadium obviously costs more than renovating, right? But there's a higher percentage of the money when people look at the project in Kansas than there is in Missouri, and there still could possibly be a vote in Missouri. Generally speaking, what's the difference on dollars, not knowing what cost overruns or whatever would have to be from the Chiefs to go new or to renovate? Is it more money out of the Chiefs' pocket to make a new stadium, even though Kansas would like to pay 70% of it? Or how do those kind of flesh out?
Yeah, I would say this. Clearly, a renovation is going to be $1 billion plus, and a new dome stadium is going to be $2-3 billion. Just facts there. And then until we have all the details, I can't really answer the second part of that question. But it will take, in either case, it will take a significant investment by the Hunt family, and building on the significant investment we've already made.
Mark, you mentioned ongoing discussions with the governor's office. How would you characterize more locally on this side of the state line?
Yeah, so I would say this. We are in active discussions with the Jackson County Legislature. We've had ongoing discussions with them to try to figure out how they play a part in this. What Governor Kehoe did and the legislature in Jeff City was give us a big part of it. Like these, in the Missouri side, it's really contingent on those two pieces. It's the state and then figuring out how we do from the local standpoint, which could involve city, will most likely absolutely involve county. And so the key was to continue those conversations and make sure that we got the big piece figured out, which was the state. And now that sort of ramps up our conversations locally.
Obviously, there's potentially news with the leadership in Jackson County. How does a potential recall with the county executive, is that something you'd like to see play out first, or is that something you guys are moving full steam ahead regardless of?
Yeah, so we haven't had anything to do with that, nor do we want anything to do with that. They have their issues they got to work through. For us, it's continuing the conversations with the people they put in front of us to have the conversations, and we've been able to do that and continue to do that.
You still envision that any path in Missouri would be with a tax in front of or a ballot question from the taxpayers?
Yeah, I think that if you look at the way the deals have worked in the past, and what we proposed in the April was to continue a tax, and I think the numbers make the most sense that way. That's the feedback we've gotten from the legislature, as well as the state. So I believe that's probably the most likely path.
There's potentially 2 windows for that. Is November something you guys would consider at all? Is that something that you think would be too quick?
Yeah, your 2 windows are November and April. I think given the timeline, it'd be difficult to hit the November date at this point, so you're looking more and more at April.
Mark, Ty Masterson indicated the other day that he felt like Governor Kelly was more interested in luring the Royals than the Chiefs, and in your letter you mentioned that you hadn't had communication with the administration for 6 weeks. Does that reconcile? Do you get that sense as well, that Governor Kelly is more interested in the Royals?
Yeah, number one, I respect and appreciate the process, because we're going through it too. So I respect that the Royals are going through a similar process. Number two, I don't think I'd comment on what Governor Kelly is thinking or not thinking, or what the folks in Topeka are thinking in terms of the two options. The good thing about the Kansas opportunity is that you're sort of justifying your own. So we can justify our project. The Royals potentially could justify their project. They're not really related. So we feel like it really has no impact on us.
When we talked to you last year on the kickoff up at camp, timeline, these things, not deadlines, timelines, right? It's been shifting a little bit, but how close are we getting to where, I mean, you guys have to figure this out if you want to get something done that's not here, if you have to get a stadium built and all that. What's that time frame, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, you need to get this thing figured out relatively quickly here. And the reason for that is, if you think about the two different projects, you've got to phase out a renovation over 3 or 4 years while playing football in the same building you're renovating, which just takes time. And you need to prep for it, you need to get we're talking about the overall deal. Once you get that done, then you got to put all the other pieces of the actual project together. We've obviously done some of those steps in preparation on both sides and both options, but they take time. On the new build, you get the benefit of you could go sooner because you don't have the conflict of playing football, but you also have a much bigger project, so that just takes time. I think we're nearing the window here where we're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. To Sam's point earlier, if you're talking about renovation, you have to wait till you get through that April vote to make sure you have what you need. If you're talking new build, then you may not have to wait that long, but we'll see how it plays out.
So what's the next thing you need to know?
Last one, guys.
Before is it Jackson County? What do you need to know?
Yeah, so we need to know a lot, but I would say this, we are so far down the line in both sides that now it's the details. Now it's literally getting down to the final points and making sure that everybody's in agreement on what we need to do and that we have all the pieces lined up. Because what our job is to go to the Hunt family and suggest, here are your two options. They both make sense. Let's make the decision that's best for our fans and our organization.
I know Luke said last one, but let's say you go renovation and you can't get a timeline to get on the ballot in November and you do it in April and it doesn't pass. Then what?
Yeah, that'd be a tough situation for everybody involved.